you had your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back, yes. Episode 222 episodes. Who would have thunk? Not me. Just kidding. Anyway, without further ado, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callahan, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., etc., etc. And all the way from Granite City Studios in St. Cloud, Minnesota, Paul Volta Shield. What's going on there? Shield.
You know, should have figured out that the game on Sunday would have been a bit of a precursor for how my week has gone. It's not been a good week, to say the least. It's been a rough one, to say the least. But at least with the Vikings loss, I did win $100 out of all of it. So at least for the time being, I had some money in my bank account. Then further situations that arise, and I am out $1,500 to fix my car on top of it. So I guess law of averages, and the averages were not to my favor. It's been a rough week, to say the least.
Yeah, you know, that's funny. Excuse me. It's not funny that happened to you.
It's fine. It's ultimately.
Yeah. Basically, what I was going to say is...
It's completely fine!
It's fine. It's fine. I was trying to get into my underground parking here at Lexington Heights Studios and couldn't get in. After the game, I could not get in, so I had to rely on somebody to get me into the underground parking. And I was just like, "This is awful. Like, why? Why does it when the Vikings lose, something happens, and I can't get into my freaking apartment because the underground parking's not working?"
Right.
So
it's just great.
It's
fine.
just
It's fine.
It is what it is.
Totally
But Voldy, let's stay on the up and up. Let's stay on the up and up. We got a great show lined up for you tonight. But before we do that, we do have a lot of people to congratulate. Pick'em has wrapped up, and claps out to all of you, the people who participated. We had
Huge.
I feel like we had a record number this year, and everyone participated. There were some that, fell off, but you know what? That's what happens, and, we're going to try to make it better. We're going to try to, do certain things and have more fun with it. So thank you to all of you that participated, and come back next year because more prizes, more fun. So with that being said, we have to congratulate a certain someone who was good all year. And much like his Detroit Lions, he dominated Pick'em. And that person being Mikey Lawrence. Yes. Congratulations to Mikey Lawrence. He dominated Pick'em. I give him a lot of credit. I really do. He did a great job. He'll get the Zona bundle, and he will get a choice of, even though he's got a lot of it already.
I mean, that's the thing. He's won so much here from the season. It's like
we're running out of stuff.
The bundle is going to be a shirt, basically. There you
Pretty
go.
much.
Yeah, you get that. Maybe a
winter cap. There you go.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. I don't know if he's got maybe some stickers. That's about it. That's the bundle for it.
Stickers you can put on your car, put anywhere else. You're in good shape. So congratulations to Mikey Lawrence. And then coming in second place, God, talk about another person who's winning. Tyler Herman. It's second place again.
Collusion.
I'm
calling collusion.
Jack Vickers, I will say, was hoping and praying that he could get back in as the champ of Pick'em. Unfortunately, not this year for Mr. Vickers. But Tyler, he wins the Fantasy Football League one. Now he's won Pick'em, so he gets to keep one of his signed helmets, which is fine. All cool.
It's fine. It's fine.
Whatnot.
It's fine.
It's fine. Darn it.
Fine.
And then to round things off, a very familiar face, also named Mikey Ryan on third place. Yes. The one thing that Mikey was trying to do, and he's like, I got to catch up with this guy, Fresh Crepes, that has my name. I need to get up to. He almost did. He almost did. He was he was tied for third with somebody else, Raksha Brown. Whoever you are, shout out to you. If you revealed yourself like we asked, we could maybe work something out with you. But we are going to give it to a guy that we know and has contacted us. So shout out to Mikey for winning third as well. But Voldy, they are going to be choosing their signed helmets on the 5th anniversary show. Yes, sir. So keep in tune. Make sure that you tune in for that because that is coming up in a couple weeks here. We've got some surprises coming your way as well. We're not going to reveal that just yet, but we got some stuff coming your way. So, all right. With that being said, Voldy, obviously the Vikings lost on Sunday to the Detroit Lions 31-9. Yeah. Tater Tot Hot Take tonight. It might be brutal. It might be frustrating. Lot to talk about there. But then also the Minnesota Vikings dropped to the 5 seed. They will be taking on the Los Angeles Rams. Again, whether in LA, whether in Arizona, apparently the fires have gotten really bad over there.
Who knows?
And prayers out to the people in those areas in Los Angeles and Pasadena and Santa Monica as well. But Vikings and Rams on Monday Night Football. I think that's what they're still planning to play there. But if things get worse, they will be going to Arizona where the Cardinals play. So I'll talk about that. And then special segment this week. We're doing our wild card playoff predictions. Just the wild card. We're not going as far as to say who's going to win the Super Bowl, things like that. We're going to keep short.
Not yet.
We're going to make our picks. We want you, the zoners, to make your picks as well. So make sure you get that done. Comment in if you have your picks. You could do them right now if you want and throw them in there.
Do it.
So do that. ARA, we got a stacked ARA tonight. One, talking about our guy B Flo. He's taking calls with potential teams. Talk about that. Jerodmayo is out as Patriots head coach. Voldy's got some thoughts there. Verlander signs with the Giants. More on that very later. And Jeanty, or is it Jeanty or Jeanty? Jeanty. Declares for the NFL draft. Talk about that. And to round things off, we have the NHL is heading outdoors in Florida. What the hell? Anyway, shield shoutouts to top things off, or to end things, and we'll be on our way. So, Voldy, let's get it going with some Tater Tot Hot Take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
All right, we start off Tater Tot Hot Take on that game that was the Detroit Lions and the Minnesota Vikings. And as you can see in the lower third, it says Lions dismantle purple. And then they did dismantle the Minnesota Vikings, unfortunately. We made predictions on this show. I want to start this off for both of us. We made our predictions and everything like that. And we were off. We were off on that. the points scored for the Lions, we said, I said 31. Voldy, you were 28. Even you picked the Vikings for 31, but off by 3. It doesn't matter. It's pretty damn close. There were some Lions fans that were chirping on the socials medias, and not Mikey Lawrence, and I appreciate it. And that we love the attention that Lions fans are giving us, but they
appreciate the views.
They come around and they say, so what happened? Your team won. That's what happened. Exactly. I mean, it's not going to make me be like, oh, you don't know, you guys got lucky. Well, there were a couple calls you got lucky, that's for sure. But all in all, the Lions beat the Vikings. That's all that happened. They were the better team that day. So let's talk about some of the game here. Sam Darnold, that is the A topic coming from this game. Sam Darnold, 18 of 41, 166 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions. Probably should have had more touchdowns. Sacked 2 times as well. Voldy, usually I say, give me your thoughts on the game, but let's just start with Sam Darnold here, because I think this is the one topic that people are talking about. And he obviously had his worst game besides maybe the Jacksonville game where the defense did carry us. But it just, at this point and with so much at stake, it looked like Sam just really wasn't ready for the moment. He was making errant throws, things like that. But what are your thoughts on our guy Sammy D here, Voldy?
Yeah, it's definitely something, especially you look at the numbers. 18 for 41, 166 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, like you just said. Only got sacked twice, but there was constant pressure throughout the game against him. And now I've said it a few times too, the more pressure that there has been against him, sadly, the better that he has played. And in this contest, it was the exact opposite. The defense for the Lions, they certainly came to play. As battered and banged up as they have been, a body bag defense, to say the least, where they're just picking guys up and off the street to play defensive back for them and any other position, that came to work for some reason. I felt like it was basically Detroit came in, they're going to play, see what happens, and it worked. 31-9 was the score. You had a dynamic run game, but getting back to Darnold as well, I just felt like it wasn't so much that he wasn't ready for the moment. Maybe it was just he was a little too ready, or maybe he was just a little too amped on it. Not a lot of touch on some throws that very easily could have been touchdowns. Jefferson wide open in the end zone, a couple of errant throws like that one to Hawkinson way over the middle that could have gone for a huge gain to extend, a drive. I mean, they were moving the ball in the first drive. Aaron Jones was looking really good to start off the game, and then he just up and disappears at some point. And that's been something that has been a bit of an eyesore for the Vikings throughout the year. But getting back to Darnold again, I just felt like that, he was just a little bit too amped for this game and maybe psyched himself out, thus leading to some errant throws. But he didn't turn over the ball. That's the big thing. Just missed high and missed a lot of throws that needed a lot more touch, and we'd be talking about a completely different game.
It's a good point you bring up because, I mean, he like you said, he didn't, turn the ball over. There was maybe one where it could have been picked because he forced it to Jefferson. Yeah. So there was that one. But another thing, too, is they were in the red zone, and he missed wide open guys.
Oh, my God.
Jefferson, you just mentioned. Addison, even though it was an out and up, I mean, you can make the argument that, that was the route that he was going, and Sam knew, like, he was going up, but he wasn't going to be open because the corner read it, really well. But he missed Naylor on one for sure. Hawkinson a couple times. You want to see him, kind of, be decisive with it. I think a lot of people were saying after the game that he was so jittery, he was so, he's just missing throws that he makes all the time, which is true. But he was, like you said, pressured a lot. I mean, he wasn't sacked a lot, but he was pressured a lot.
So much pressure.
And he did get out of the pocket. He was on the move, but Detroit did a really good job of, utilizing Za'Darius. I didn't think he'd be too much of a factor just because I feel like, we did such a good job of making sure he wouldn't wreck the game. He got to Darnold because it was on a stunt. But at the same time, too, I wish we would have really shut him up because, there's more on that later on. But we'll stick with the facts here. The Anzalone coming back was tough, I think, for us, too, because, well, first of all, he should have been flagged for a penalty on Hawkinson. But, we'll ignore that fact. And there were a lot of things that happened in that game where we really needed we all thought after halftime, he's going to put it together. He's going to, start going a little bit. But it never did. And the sad part about it is when they got the ball at half, they had that long run from Cam Akers. Going for the red zone, back in the red zone, they don't get it. With the way that they were running the ball with Aaron Jones, with Cam Akers, they never got back to that in the red zone. They did it once or twice maybe, but I mean, if you're getting them on runs, they're expecting you to, they know you guys are a pass-first team. You guys are going to, we're going to be ready for it. And that's what Aaron Glenn did with his defense. And I feel like they should have utilized Jones more, utilized Akers. He, disappeared. I don't know what happened. He's in the locker room when the second half started with Aaron Jones, and it was like, what the hell's going on? And he got back in eventually, but it's just we used him in the passing game, which is great, but he was getting some gashes on this defense. So I wonder if KOC is going to utilize the run game a little bit more against the Rams, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. I think Voldy, the social media is blowing up. The national media is going off on the Minnesota Vikings. See, this is what we were talking about. Darnold was going to fall off. This was going to happen with the Vikings. They're obviously not as good as the Lions. Blah 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 blah. Even though they're 14-3 and exceeded all expectations. Another argument for another day. But they're right to criticize, but we cannot have Darnold make that same performance coming up here on Monday. And this is reason for Sam, if he can bounce back and say, look, I can be the quarterback of this team, I can do this. And if he goes in, beats the Rams, and hopefully convincing fashion, we'll get to that.
Hopefully.
Then we're talking about, okay, do we franchise him? What do we do with Darnold? What are we going to do here? So I think this is very, very key coming up here for Sam Darnold. But yeah, this is going to tell a lot. I mean, this game is a prove-it game, and the Vikings have been good all season of bouncing back, after losses against even though it was kind of in the same week, they had the two losses, Lions and Rams, and kind of now are in the same deal, but there's more space in between. So let's look at some other things besides Sammy D's performance. First of all, Van Ginkel, my guy, what going up there and boom, just nailing Jahmyr Gibbs. Did not see it coming. Clean hit. The Gangster coming in the clutch. Not only the Gangster came in the clutch, Josh Metellus, Ivan Pace, the interception that they had off the tip coming through, and Harrison Smith, obviously, the first ballot Hall of Famer, Harrison Smith. The defense, I feel like we can't, fully say in the second half they fell apart. It's just Detroit got rolling, and it was tough to stop because our offense couldn't do anything besides kick field goals. We'll talk about Reichert in a second. But Voldy, what are your thoughts on the defense this past game with against the Lions. More likely in the first half. We'll go
I mean,
with it,
the defense did exactly what it was supposed to do. It was supposed to slow down the Lions enough. Yes, they did give up 4 touchdowns to Jahmyr Gibbs, 3 on the ground, 1 passing. But they spotted the offense in as prime position as they could. And we haven't even yet to mention that errant throw to a lineman in the end zone, which should have been a safety and would have definitely changed the trajectory of the game for the Vikings. But from that point, they go on a long drive, and ultimately doesn't really matter. Vikings did win the turnover battle when it comes to interceptions. They get 2 compared to none from the Vikings offense. But the Rams did give the Lions, I should say. The Lions gave the Vikings ample opportunity offensively to capitalize off their miscues. And ultimately, the Vikings did not do that well enough to capitalize in that situation. The defense did what it was supposed to do. It gave the offense chances to set themselves up and at least get points on the board. Yes, they did get field goals. Yes, there were some bad miscues offensively that did come back to hurt. But the defense, I mean, I am not upset by how the offense played. Again, yes, they did give up 3 rushing touchdowns, but Jahmyr Gibbs, I mean, he had a great offensive line to hide behind too. And that's the one thing I did mention with this matchup. It's our defensive line versus their offensive line. Who's going to win? And ultimately, that extremely experienced, I mean, that group has been playing together for quite some time now at this point. Even with guys like Panay, who has only been in the league for a couple of years, you get some of the old heads like Dan Skipper and Ragnow and Zeitler as well have been in the league, and if not
Decker.
with the Lions, Decker on top of it. Those guys that have been in the league and have played on some great teams, some great running offensive teams. Now you get them in a situation to where they can really lean into things with the run game that they've had over the last year plus, last 2 years now at this point. And it worked out. And ultimately, the offensive line won over the Vikings defensive line. But I'm not upset by the performance of the defense entirely. I mean, there's a few things to look back on, but they did the best that they could do.
Especially with a really good back like that. And, I was one of the people that kind of mocked and ridiculed the Lions for drafting him just because they already had their running backs ready to roll. But obviously they found a way to utilize those guys. So, I mean, I had to eat humble pie for that. But it is what it is. The other thing, too, and I feel like this, and I'm not saying this isn't why they lost, but you mentioned the safety. I mean, that is just egregious. That is absolutely egregious how bad that they missed that. Oh, and also a missed face mask again on Sam Darnold, and the guy even
and
knew it.
Yet we get called for intentional grounding.
Oh, yeah.
The Vikings, that is, not we, the Texans that I'm wearing here tonight. The Vikings get called for intentional grounding when Sam Darnold is trying to obviously escape pressure. A throw near a receiver outside the tackle box that just barely missed the line of scrimmage. Meanwhile, you've got Jared Goff in the end zone, escaping a sack, throwing it to a lineman inside the tackle box while trying to avoid a sack on top of it. Where is the lie? Where is the lie when it comes to intentional grounding or not? Again, we get that safety. That changes the game entirely at that point because we get the ball back. We were moving the ball pretty well at that point. Just couldn't, get it in the end zone. But I felt like that would have been a wake-up call at that point.
That would have. And again, I just think I think that was the turning point too. But also, they did call some illegal contact and some holding or pass.
Yes, we did.
But good Lord, the whole freaking game, that Robertson guy's literally just grabbing Jefferson every which way, and they still don't call it. One in the end zone, I might add. Or you know what? Excuse me. More than once in the end zone, I might add. And I just think, and this was one of the top crews, and I saw this. This is one of the top crews that calls that type of call. Coincidence? I think not. There is
not for Minnesota.
There is something with these officiating crews that I don't like. And again, not the reason why they lost. I mean, they had plenty of opportunities. But, they missed that. a lot of holding calls on our wide receivers, but who knows? We might see the Detroit Lions again here if the Vikings win. We do have Zoner chiming in. J-Man, Jared Doyle. Do we start Daniel Jones next week? At least he has postseason experience. Don't want to jump ship, but that performance was horrible.
Ew. Still trying to get over the fact that the Vikings signed him to the roster.
The thing is, I talked about this with Jared. After he says he's got the experience, but it was just really bad from Darnold. And I was trying to hear him out with it, and I did. But listen, if you've ridden all the way, if this was a string of bad games from Sam Darnold, then you might have to consider that. But I just think you can't just jump ship that quickly after one game against a really good team. Let's be honest. And Sam didn't play like I know there's more at stake in that Sunday game, but again, there was a situation where Sam played fairly well against the Lions the first time. That's why I'm more confident in that. And Sam played, particularly well against the Rams. So I'm kind of in that boat of, no, let's just see what he's got. And this is just me saying, like, I'm not ready to give up on him, but if he's a dud and against the Rams, J.J. McCarthy's going to be our starter next year. I mean, I think so, but I think a lot of people, depending on how things go. But this is crazy. But he needs to play well. This is very important for Sam Darnold to play.
He's playing for a contract. He really is.
Exactly.
He's literally playing for a contract, whether it's here, whether it's somewhere else. He's playing for a starting contract somewhere. And going back as well, I mean, we didn't even really bring up the point. Aaron Jones, where did he go in the second half? Just disappeared. And that's been way too often here this season. I mean, he starts out great, few series, just running the ball down the throat, getting 6, 7, maybe 8 yards a clip, couple of first downs, couple of, swing routes and all of that. But then you get to maybe mid-third quarter, you don't see him. And maybe you see him every other play, maybe every other series if you get that far into the game. But Aaron Jones is completely, at some points, a non-factor in the second half. And that's definitely something that needs to be addressed and definitely cannot happen against the Rams on Monday.
We need him. And again, he was hurt in that second half against the Rams, I believe.
Exactly.
As well. So that first time. So there's that to factor in. Addison only getting one reception. This game was bad too. So I'm just kind of looking at something. Like Hawkinson had 8 targets. He only caught 2 of them. And that's not fully on him, I will say, but
he
desperately needed those contested ones for sure.
Yeah.
Jared says, I was saying E when we signed Darnold, and look where he got. And that's a fair point. That's a fair point. True. But starting Daniel Jones right away in a playoff game, I can't.
Happening.
I just
he'll be the emergency third quarterback.
Yeah, if it comes down to it.
And let go of they let go of Brett Rippon, so obviously he's going to be in uniform on Monday.
I think you got to roll with him. We got to roll with Darnold. You have to. And then the last thing I'll bring up, even on those hits, I mean, Darnold's getting hit in the face multiple times. No calls there. So, again, not the reason why they lost the game. But so Lions get the 1 seed. The Vikings move down to the 5 seed and take on those Los Angeles Rams. Let's get into that game here. And obviously, we said at the beginning that this game might be moved to Arizona because of the fires going on in L.A. right now.
And we certainly hope everyone is doing okay out in Los Angeles. I know a handful of people that live out there. I know a couple people that are firefighters in the greater Los Angeles area, and thoughts and prayers to them right now. Hopefully they're doing okay.
Absolutely. So So that to factor in, I don't know if it's that big of a difference, but that means, well, some of these Ram fans have to travel too, and depending on
I don't know if Rams fans travel that well. We know that purple travels, especially to Arizona.
U.S. Bank West, I think we can call it, hopefully. But, it was another thing with the fans. That's another thing to bring up with Detroit. But you know what? I'm not going to, because we got a lot more other things. We got bigger fish to fry.
Yes, we do.
So we look at this game versus the Rams, and, the first time we took them on, it was a short week.
Mm-hmm.
The Vikings looked tired, really tired in that game.
They did.
Injuries happen. Jason says he's tuning in. Thanks for tuning in. Hashtag LA Strong. I like that. That's a good hashtag, especially with what's going on. So the first matchup, and B-Flow said this this week, is that they were kind of scrambling a little bit when Puka Nacua was going to be able to play. And the Vikings were kind of preparing with Cooper Kupp. Probably he's going to play, so they're like, okay. But then they had to scramble with that. They didn't have I feel like they just didn't have the proper way they wanted to defend LA during that time too. And Kyron Williams played really well. He ran the ball very well in that first matchup. But these are different teams, obviously, since then. And the Vikings, obviously have been up and up, so have the Rams. Their offense has been very good. Their defense can get to the pass rusher with Fisk, with Verse. Young's another guy, even though he had a face mask against us, and got away with it. But this matchup, it's going to be tough. The Vikings coming off a tough loss against the Lions, and the Rams pretty much rested all their starters. So
yeah.
O'Connell versus McVay, round 2. Voldy, how are we feeling about this matchup against the LA Rams?
Well, the last time we faced them, I think the Rams were really running off the point that they got a shot in the arm because Puka Nacua came back from injury that literally nobody saw coming on top of that. So you get the excitement from that. The first time around, very, very, competitive matchup. The Vikings wasted a couple opportunities and the Rams took advantage. This is a very even keel matchup. Obviously, you get the 5 versus the 4, NFC West champions, but the Rams are definitely a team that I'm not, there's something about this. You can go either way. You can make the strongest case for both teams that the Rams are going to beat the Vikings and the Vikings are going to beat the Rams. Something about this matchup just does not sit well with me for some reason. If this was the St. Louis Rams or the pre-SoFi Stadium Rams, I would say Vikings got this in the bag. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But again, Vikings killer Matthew Stafford, even in his old age, he's got his weapons with him. I'm pretty sure Tyler Higbee is back. I believe he scored a touchdown this past week. That's a big difference as well in the offense after him coming back from a knee injury from last season. This is probably a much more complete unit than we've seen in recent years from the Rams, barring back from their Super Bowl championship, which was not all that long ago, but feels like a lifetime ago. Probably for some Rams fans, they've got a young, gritty defense. They've got a strong defensive line of some young guys that have been playing together for, they've got a couple of rookies, Jared Verse being one of them out of Florida State. Him and one of his buddies from Florida State have been doing fairly well for the Rams this year. And this is a tight one. You get the 5 versus the 4 in the NFC. This one is I'm on the fence right now. You ask me about every 5 minutes about how do you feel about this matchup? You're going to get a different answer every time.
That's a good point. You can, and I've seen people take the Rams. I've seen people take the Vikings. Darnold's going to bounce back. This and that. And it's hard to pick because it's like, master versus the pupil, and because with O'Connell and McVay. And again, it's going to be a chess match between these, two teams. The offense versus Flores' defense. And, now that Flores has, good amount of time to prepare and come up with a game plan. And obviously we do have, healthy players. And again, the Rams do too, not saying that they don't. But this is, I think the biggest difference in this game is that it's going to be different from the first matchup in regards to the Vikings didn't have T.J. Hawkinson then. It was Josh Oliver who actually had a pretty good game. I think this is a sneaky play for Hawkinson to bounce back after that tough game against Detroit and really kind of hone in on, being the great tight end that he is. And he is. He's very good tight end. We just got to get him the ball. Now, I think you can expose this Rams defense by, we got to protect Sam at all costs. Verse was a monster in that game. And yes, Jason, I said it. He was a monster in that game against the Vikings. But I think they know, okay, this young pass rusher's got something. We got to come up with a game plan to neutralize him. If they neutralize him, I fully expect the Vikings to hit them on the outside with Addison, Jefferson, Hawkinson, and also incorporating the passing game to our running backs with Akers and Jones. Now, I think we're going to have a lot of success, but then again, I feel like the Rams offense will have a lot of success because Nacua is just a tough wide receiver. He can, do every route like Cooper Kupp, and they're very good. Higbee is a sneaky play there. Kyron Williams is very good running back. So, this is going to be I feel like this might be the game, another game of the week type of thing.
Yes.
But what it all comes down to, Voldy, and I'll get your prediction here in a second, but what it's going to come down to is the play of Sam Darnold.
Yep.
Now, Sam has been fantastic this whole season. He has been able to make, win games that they've needed to win. Now, we haven't really blown out a team since maybe Atlanta. Houston was another blowout that we had, but we should have blew out the Packers, but that's for another time. Yeah. Both times, I should say.
Both times.
But it comes down to the play of Sam Darnold, if he's able to, get the ball to these guys like he couldn't against Detroit. I think the run game is going to be very important. The way to neutralize those pass rushers with Fisk and Verse is to run the ball. Jonesy, Akers, try to get them going a little bit, and then they'll kind of realize, play action. Here comes Darnold throwing a dart to Jefferson or Hawkinson or something like that. So, going to be a hell of a matchup. Jason says, I could go either way, but this game comes down to playoff and big game experience. And with that, I think I lean Rams, and I don't necessarily disagree. I mean, it's not a shocker. He's going to take the Rams.
No.
And let's not forget. He took the Vikings the first time.
He did take that, yeah.
But yes, then again, he did snap me and say, "Okay, Puga's playing. I'm taking the Rams." So that was, on his part, he got it. But he did take the Vikings at first. He did.
He did.
But that is what it is. But I don't know. Not shocking there. So, all right, Shield, what is your prediction for this game? Do the Minnesota Vikings move on to the divisional round in the playoffs? What do you got?
Yes, I do think the Vikings are going to win this contest. And I look at a couple of things with this matchup. We've been kind of talking about it when it comes to, can Sam Darnold get the ball to his receivers? And that's one thing that's going to be a huge factor in this contest, with the protection to allow Sam time to get the ball down the field. He was able to move that ball quite effectively against the Rams, with it being, of course, Jordan Addison, with it also being, Justin Jefferson there. He can get the ball to them. TJ Hawkinson against the linebacker, that's a very favorable matchup for Hawkinson. Get them the ball. That is going to be a big win. Whether it's, quick outs and some screens to set up and move the ball down the field, that will certainly work. That's one thing I'm looking at. And on the other side, And the last time we played the Rams, we lost our left tackle. Cam Robinson slowed down the pass rush on that left side to allow Darnold time to get the ball out of his hand, whether it's going to be Jared Verse, whether it's going to be anybody else. Verse is the only one that comes to mind. I'm sure Jason could probably throw out a few other names on that D line and linebacking core that supplies the pressure against for the Rams defense too. But that is something that I want to see on top of it. Can the offensive line do its job enough? Because, they got themselves in a lot of trouble against the Lions. And in fact, they even stepped on Sam Darnold at one point and thought we were going to lose him at some point in that game against the Lions. But luckily enough, get the time to rest an extra day too, with it being a Monday contest as opposed to a Sunday game. I have the Vikings winning, but I'm not going to go as high as I did last time in score, even though I did say 31 points, just so happened to be the wrong team. I'm going to say 24-21 Vikings over the Rams.
Post game, Sam Darnold gets it done. I like it, Voldy.
Yep.
Mine, I won't go on a big tangent here like I did last time, because this is, I feel like this game, if the Vikings were to lose this game, and hopefully not by a blowout by any means, I don't think they're going to get blown out. They're not going to get blown out. I'm trying to tell myself that. If the Vikings were to lose this close fashion, whatever, and Sam plays well, then you kind of have an argument whether you keep him or not. Now, it wouldn't surprise me if the Rams won, and it just kind of shows, it sucks because, they played so well these past, this whole season, and, it sucks the way that it ended. You add it to the list of all the ways the Vikings have lost over the years. But I said it last week, there's something about this team, and I feel like after one bad game, you can't necessarily judge this team based off of that game and say, yeah, they're done. I don't think they're done. I think this is going to motivate them in this game. The rest of the way is you're going to be away. The rest, pretty much the rest, unless Green Bay upsets and whoever gets an upset. Right. I think they are going to come in motivated. And yes, I feel the Rams, like Stafford, Kupp, and some Nakua have the experience, and some of these other players have the experience in the playoffs. But you know what? The Vikings are kind of going in there being like, you know what, we lost. We're going to go in there with nothing to lose. We got nothing to lose. We go in there, we win this game, we keep moving on, we get another shot at the Lions. I think that would be helpful for this team. I look at it like this. The Vikings are going to win 28-24 against the Rams. So, skol Vikes. Let's get it going. Let's get the run game going. Let's get it to our playmakers and get the job done. I think we're going to get a couple turnovers. I think Stafford's going to do his Matt Stafford things and throw a couple picks. So,
of course.
Anyway, that game is on Monday. We already made our picks for this one. So now that'll do it for Tater Tot Hot Take. But Voldy, we will make our playoff picks, our wild card weekend picks. We're just only making the wild card games, and we'll go from there next week with the divisional. Yada yada yada. So we'll go through each game. We'll make a pick. You guys can also make your picks as well in the chat. Let us know. We will go with you on that. And Voldy, I got a strong feeling that you're probably taking the Texans there with the Keenum and the Texans hat. Who knows? We'll have to find out. But this is kind of a combination of Callahan's School of Logic and Voldy's Virtues. So why don't we get it going with our predictions and play you both of Voldy's Virtues and Callahan's School of Logic.
Roll that beautiful.
He has emerged from the Temple of Wisdom. Gather round for Voldy's Virtues. Class is in session. You're enrolled in Callahan's School of Logic.
All right, we are in the Temple of Wisdom and the classroom as well. Get your pens, get your, what's that thing? It's like incense or something like that they use. Whatever. Since we're in the Temple of Wisdom. But anyway, our wild card round predictions. There are a slew of matchups. We already made our picks. We picked the Vikings to win the game against the Rams. No surprise there. But we still got some faith in our purple. So let's start off with the Saturday games here. We have the Los Angeles Chargers at the Houston Texans, 3:30 p.m. Start time here for Central Time for us on CBS. So Voldy, who do you got? Chargers or Texans?
Interesting thing that I have seen is that Houston, every time that they've made the playoffs, they've always played Wild Card Weekend, 3:30 p.m. on Saturday. Every single playoff game that they've played in has been that one as either the 4 seed or just so happened to be in the wild card round. But don't let the jersey and the hat fool you. I'm leaning towards the Los Angeles Chargers in this one. I think Houston, they're kind of limping into this one a little bit. Of course, you do lose Tank Dell, of course, a few weeks ago with that horrific injury that he did have. I think C.J. Stroud's kind of knocked himself out in that fashion. I mean, Joe Mixon's kind of limping in a couple of different ways. I just feel and look towards this way. It could very well be a shootout. It could be a one-sided affair in this contest. But I feel that the Los Angeles Chargers going on the road indoors at Houston, I'm going to take the Chargers in this one. Again, don't let the jersey and the hat fool you. I'm going to go with the Chargers on this one.
I don't necessarily blame you, but shout out to our guy, Case Keenum, by the way.
Yes, sir.
We got to throw that shout out since you are wearing the jersey. I feel like the Texans have played either, they're in it, they can get it done and whatnot.
Right.
And then they played the Ravens. And that game, I tell you, I almost fell asleep a couple times. That was so boring. Mm-hmm. They got the safety. That was their only points in the game. And there's injuries. Joe Mixon's beat up. And, Nico Collins is still very good and whatnot. But look, the Chargers, I feel like, have more firepower, and they're getting hot at the right time. Dobbins is playing well with rushing. And also, Herbert's starting to, catch fire a little bit and understanding what Harbaugh wants to do with this team. Their defense is still very good. Bosa, Khalil Mack, Derwin James as well. So, Voldy, I'm with you. I'm going to take the LA Chargers as well to beat the Houston Texans. I feel like the Texans, they're just really beat up. They don't have Stephon. Not saying that's the big reason why, but I feel like they've got a lot of injuries. Stingley's a very good player on their defense. Defensively, they got Daniil. Daniil's always going to be a beast. Anderson as well. But I look at this Chargers team, and they're getting hot at the right time. So I'm with you. I'm going Chargers. All right, the next Saturday game is on Prime, unfortunately. No, I'm just kidding. It's just, I don't know. I got an opinion on that, but we don't need to go through there. Pittsburgh at Baltimore. The third matchup between these teams. Pittsburgh is on a big losing streak. Wilson's played bad. Pickens has been playing bad. Their defense isn't as good. It's hard not to pick Baltimore in this one.
Right.
And I'm going to take Baltimore in this one, and I think it's going to be I very well could be a bloodbath, but I feel like Pittsburgh's going to put some stuff together. It's going to be closer than anticipated, but give me Baltimore against Pittsburgh. So, Voldy, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I very well am going to go Baltimore on this one, having the home field advantage. I mean, Pittsburgh is limping in. I mean, losing 4 in a row to close out the regular season. I mean, you take those 4 losses away, they come up with 10 wins at that point, and they're 10-8, 10-7, 10-7 coming into this contest. I mean, that's a tough go for them, especially when they put themselves in such a prime position. coming into at one point was, the day after Christmas, or when they played on Christmas, they were, a very formidable team. And then they played the Chiefs, and it all kind of went downhill at that point. But I have Baltimore in this one, just based off the fact that they've got things rolling a lot stronger, and they will be at home too against their rival.
Rashad Bateman's been playing really well.
Yes,
like
sir.
you just said, too. Former Gopher, as we all know. But Derrick Henry, King Henry's been great, too. So, and Lamar's playing at a high level. Defense is playing a lot better for Baltimore. All right, Sunday, January 12th, we have, to round off the AFC side, we have the Denver Broncos at the Buffalo Bills at noon on CBS. Voldy, let's start with you on this matchup. Who do you got?
I mean, this is a scary 7-seed team in Denver. I definitely do not want to shy away from the fact that they are a rolling team right now. Sean Payton, as much as it pains me to say, and Bo Nix at quarterback. Just this no-name defense they have, and just this caveat of receivers and backs that they do have, that can definitely move the football. But then on the other side, you got Buffalo, who can definitely move the ball, whether it be in Josh Allen's hands or not. Definitely living up to that number 2 seed on top of it. But on top of it all, you've got Buffalo at home. I'm definitely going to take Buffalo in this one over Denver. But I feel like it'll be a tight contest in this one.
This is a tough one for me. No, it's not a tough one for me. I got the Buffalo Bills because nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
Nailed it.
And the fact that Sean Payton is in the playoffs with his Broncos team makes me sick. But I mean, I just think Buffalo's the better team. Denver's defense could be troublesome for them, but look, Josh Allen's on another level right now. He's probably in another planet right now. I think they're going to get it done against Denver, and hopefully they crush Sean Payton. And no offense to Bo Nix, because he's actually played pretty well, but not this year. No, there's no way. If Denver beats Buffalo, I would be absolutely shocked. Absolutely shocked. All right, so let's get to our NFC. The NFC matchup at 3:30 on Fox Central Time, obviously. Those Green Bay Packers against the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, everyone thinks, okay, for sure, you'd take Philadelphia. There's been some people saying trap game.
This is yes. Thank you. Finally.
I think this is a trap game. I really do for the Philadelphia. Because, I mean, do we know the injury report for the Eagles? I mean, is Hurts going to play? I mean, do we know? Who knows? We'll have to figure that out. If he doesn't play,
is he going to start?
I think you could make, and again, I hate to say it, but you could make the argument that Green Bay could turn it on and, just shock the world and beat the Eagles. And you know what? They can go and play Detroit. That's fine with me.
Fine by me.
And maybe soften them up for us. But but Philadelphia, you got to think that they'll have a game plan ready to go with Saquon, with Brown, and if Hurts plays. But I'll make this easy. If Jalen Hurts plays, I feel like they will have a better chance at winning. You play that McKee guy, good Lord, I don't think they win that game unless they pound the ball a lot with Saquon. Yep. And A.J. Brown's going to be unhappy. But you know what? When isn't he unhappy? So we got that going for us. But, if Hurts plays, I got Philly. If he does not play, I hate to do this, but I think I'm going to take Green Bay if he doesn't play. I hate to do it. Yeah. So but I will say, if I think Hurts is going to play, I'm taking Philly. So, Voldy, who do you got?
This is an interesting one. It really does come back to which quarterback is going to be healthy. Obviously, for Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts is going to be 100%. But on the other side, you look at, Green Bay's not exactly coming in 100% in their quarterback room either.
Lost to the Bears.
Yeah, exactly. Lost to the Bears. Jordan Love got banged up. Malik Willis got banged up too. They were just kind of a bumbling team in that game against against the Bears to close out the regular season, and that certainly does not help them in that regard as they finish out as the 7th seed. I mean, again, this one comes down to injury report. Who's going to be the most healthy? I feel like both starting quarterbacks, Jordan Love and Jalen Hurts, are going to, rise to the occasion and be healthy for this contest, or at least be good enough and be able to suit up well enough to make it to this contest on Sunday. If that is the case, at least in the sense of both offenses, Jalen Hurts has the ability to hand the ball off to Saquon Barkley, and on the other side, Jordan Love's got, he's got Josh Jacobs, but Josh Jacobs is no Saquon Barkley, so I'm definitely going to take Philadelphia. I'm behind that offensive line and the 2,000-yard season with Saquon Barkley. Give me the Eagles in this one.
Fair enough. Last matchup that we have is Tampa Bay at home against the Washington Commanders, a.k.a. the Commies, as you'd like to say.
Commies!
On NBC. I think this one's very, very intriguing. Tampa Bay's offense has been kind of firing off all cylinders. They didn't have the best game against New Orleans. They came back, they won, which, I mean, if you lost to them, that would be sad. Yeah. But Washington, again, a surprise team that has really played well. Jaden Daniels, their defense has played a lot better. And whatnot. This one is a tough one, I feel like. But, Voldy, who do you got in this matchup?
I mean, I look at this one, again, you can make the case for both teams in this contest with Tampa Bay, that high-flying offense, Baker Mayfield with reckless abandon this season, putting the team on his back in multiple ways. But you have the young upstart team, first-year head coach, with it being Dan Quinn and the Commies as they march into the big sombrero down in Tampa Bay. I look at this matchup, an immediate gun to my head. I say Washington. I don't know why. I feel like on their side, of course, they've got the young offense to go with Jaden Daniels. If he's 100% ready to go in this contest, I know he's been kind of, a little bit banged up here in the second half of the season, dealing with the ribs and, a couple of injuries here and there, at least things that have kind of slowed him down. But the trust that he has in his receiving core, with the experience that he does have with, of course, scary Terry McLaurin kind of leading the pack there, I want to take Washington in this one. This one might be the one that is a make or break here for both these teams. Tampa did get the nice upset victory last year against the Eagles, and then ultimately fall in Detroit last year. But I feel like you asked me right here, right now, which one to choose. I'm going to go Washington in this contest. I'm going to take the 6 seed over the 3.
I went back and forth as well.
Right?
My brother-in-law, Nick Vanderplas, is going to really love me right now. I'm going to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I feel like we need to be different in that aspect. But I do like what I see from Washington. The thing is Baker, like, I've been a non-Baker person for a while, but that season he had last season and the season he's having right now, he's been on fire. And I think that it'll continue with that because they're at home. Baker plays really well for them at home. You have Mike Evans, who is just awesome. He's probably first ballot. I feel like he might be a first ballot Hall of Fame, or he probably will be. With all these 1,000-yard seasons, he has been awesome for Tampa Bay.
For sure.
McMillan's starting to play well. You got, the tight ends, like the no-name tight ends that you're like, who? I mean, Otten's okay, but they're guys.
They've got former Gopher Cole Keefe. They've got Cole Keefe at the fullback. They've got Cody Mock, former NDSU Bison national champion, on the line too.
Bucky Irving's a very good back. Rashad White as well.
Former Gopher legend Bucky Irving, by way of Oregon.
Yeah. Antoine Winfield Jr. Is he playing or is he out again? He was out last game. Yeah. Oh, damn it.
I think.
I don't know.
I haven't been keeping tabs on my Bucks, though.
No, I'm taking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, Nick, I'll let him know, actually, after the show.
I like it.
As well. So Voldy, we both have the Chargers. We both have the Ravens. We both have Buffalo. Let's just, for the sake of Jalen Hurts is going to play. We both have Philly, but you got Washington. I got Tampa. And obviously, we both have the Vikings. So that is our picks, predictions, and everything for that. For Wild Card Weekend coming up, it all starts on Saturday, goes all the way to Monday to end with the Vikings and the Rams. So, that being said, we got a lot going on with ARA. We got B-Flow taking interview requests. We got the Patriots firing jerodmayo. We got Verlander signing with the Giants. Coach Payne's Giants. By the way, WJU, still got my hat. Love it. Jeanty declares for the NFL draft, and the NHL heads outdoors in Florida. What the hell? So, with that being said, let's get it going. Let's have absurd or approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All good. So it is time for Absurd or Approved. So, Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, 3 years removed from his firing as head coach for the Miami Dolphins, Vikings defense coordinator Brian Flores has been garnering interest from clubs seeking head coaching experience for 2025 season, as requests have been put in from two teams as of recent, the Chicago Bears and the New York Jets, at looking at possibly hiring Flores as their next head coach. And of course, he has not shied away from the possibility of returning, as quoted as saying, "It's an honor, certainly, that I've definitely don't take that lightly. I look forward to having those conversations and talking to people about my football journey, my leadership journey." And he's taking all requests to possibly look at being a head coach in the coming season. Of course, we do notably know, of course, the requests that have been put in have been with the Bears and the Jets that have been looking for head coaches. But is it absurd or approved? Will Brian Flores be hired by another team outside, maybe quite possibly these two teams that have looked at him? But will he be a head coach in 2025?
I hope not. I hope not. Listen, here's what I'll say. I'm very happy for him. I think he's very deserving of a head coaching position again. And if, obviously teams are interested, I know the Bears were, I think the Jets were, and I think you mentioned it. There are a couple teams obviously interested in talking with him. I don't blame him for making the comments that he did, obviously, because, he wants to get back to that point. It's clear that he wants to get back to that point because, I feel like he left some unfinished business in Miami. I think there were some people that didn't like how he handled things and with Tua and everything like that. But the way that he has transformed this Vikings defense and has turned them into one of the top defenses in the league is nothing short of remarkable. The players respect him. They love him to death. I think he is a guy that has proven himself of being a very good defensive coordinator and has proven to be, a guy that they can rely on the defense and to get those players. The free agent signings that they had this offseason, Cashman, Van Ginkel, hashtag Van Ginkel style. Just kidding. You get what I'm talking about there. Blake Cashman, you got Grenard, thrown in the mix. Stephon Gilmore, who has played quite well, for this defense. So it proves how good he is as a coach. And, he's not afraid to tell you what you're doing wrong. And, the thing is he's going to dap you up on the sidelines. He's going to pump you up. And if you've been watching The Voyage on YouTube with the Minnesota Vikings, it's kind of like a documentary thing going through some of those games and whatnot. I mean, they love this guy. They respect this guy. He's always, giving high fives and stuff, throwing out, saying, good job and all that stuff. And we got to keep playing. We got to keep, working. The guy is working his ass off. And I love the way that he coaches. And I think to answer the question here, I'm going to say no. I think it's absurd. And here's the reason why I say that is because there are teams that I feel like the Bears, that situation, Pace went out and said, "Oh, yeah, we're going to take someone that's surprising." Like okay, so you're probably not taking B-Flow. I don't think B-Flow wants to go to the Jets whatsoever. I think he's avoiding that at all costs. It seems like the Patriots are pretty good with going after Vrabel, but I could see them pivoting and saying, well, what about B-Flow? You know, he was with us previously. So I could see that. The Raiders, that franchise, I mean, even though Brady's with them and everything like that, there's just a lot that wrong with that franchise right now. I don't think he wants that job. I just don't think that there's a sexy enough job for him to be like, that's it. You know what I mean? It seems to me they're not going to go that route. He's not going to go that route because there's just not a lot of sexy positions out. And, you know, again, the Jets are a train wreck. So, yeah, I think it's absurd. I think he's going to stay with our Minnesota Vikings next year as well. And again, if they get to the Super Bowl, I might change my answer. I probably will because he's going to be a hot commodity. And I'm knocking on wood right now, so no worries. So, Voldy, what do you got?
Yeah, that's another thing to take into account. What do the next few weeks look like when it comes to possibly other job openings? So, I mean, we just saw that the Raiders let go Antonio Pierce. We see that Doug Peterson is gone in Jacksonville. I mean, there's plenty of open opportunities as of right now, but what happens maybe in the next coming weeks that maybe leads to another opportunity for another coach that may get let go depending on their playoff run or lack of playoff run on top of it. But as of right now, I say no. I think it's absurd. I think Brianflores is going to stay at least for another year based off of what we've seen with this group defensively, with all the free agents they brought in and getting that all gelled together as a team on top of what they could possibly do this playoff season for them. I think that is just going to either further cement the stock that Brianflores has coming into this, this playoff run that the Vikings do have in front of them. Just really all depends. I think on top of it, I think B-Flow is going to make hopefully the right decision, and maybe the Wilps get involved and say, what do you need to stay? How much do you need? We'll make it happen, because I definitely don't see them shying away from the opportunity to keep B-Flow for at least another season. Hopefully, 100%. A couple more seasons on top of it.
The Wolves will shell out that money, unlike some other owners in this state.
Right.
Just saying. But I think they're going to do exactly what you just said. They're going to be like, what's the number? Here's a blank check. Because the Wolves are very good, and
same with KOC.
Yeah, that's the same deal. That's a whole different conversation.
Yes, it is. Don't want to get into that.
We'll get into that at some point. But speaking of firings, next one, Voldy.
We head to the world of New England in a surprising turn of events. Head coach, now former of the New England Patriots, Jerodmayo, was let go 1 year as head coach of the New England Patriots after finishing 4-13, after finishing off the season with a win. But unfortunately, that win did come at a cost in losing the number 1 overall draft pick that they had a 78% chance going into Sunday. If all they had to do was lose the game against the Buffalo Bills, they lose that game, they get the number 1 overall pick. But no, the Patriots were selfish and decided to win and ultimately get knocked down to, I believe they're like the number 4 pick or something like that coming into the 2025 NFL draft. But with that, the owner and proprietor of the New England Patriots, Robert Kraft, did say that they had to let go, and the search is on after 1 season of head coach, thus replacing the long-tenured former coach, that being Bill Belichick, who is now at the University of North Carolina, looking at what is available and out there. Is it absurd or approved? Will the next coach finish better with a 3-13 record next season with the New England Patriots? 4-13, I should say.
Oh, was it 4 and oh, they did win 4.
Yes,
Okay,
four and
gotcha.
13. Yes, 4-13. Will the next coach finish better than 4-13 in 2025?
Yeah, same. I mean, still bad record either way.
Not good.
Not good.
Bob.
Not good, Bob.
Not good, Bob.
It feels like they're trying to get Vrabel, and that's that I think is the big thing here, and I think Kraft wants him badly. The next coach will finish. Yes, that's got my stamp of approval. I mean, that's an easy one because I just think the hiring of jerodmayo, and yeah, he worked under Belichick, but
Right.
I think somebody said it. He's trying to be the anti-Belichick, if I'm not mistaken, which I don't know. I mean, you can keep some of the same things that he did, but you can kind of do it your own way, is what I'm saying. And I think he tried to do too much with that, and also the offense wasn't great. The defense was probably the worst it's been in a couple years now. And Drake May's a rookie QB. I mean, he didn't really have a lot of weapons, and they didn't utilize KJ Osborne. They got rid of him, and you have something Booty or whatever his name is,
Kayshawn Booty. You've got
Kayshawn
Pop
Booty.
Douglas. You've got Hunter Henry.
Yep.
Got Ramondre Stevenson. I mean, I've been keeping my eye on my Patriots on top of it. But let's talk about also on top of it, Joe Milton. Joe Milton
He played well.
He played really well. I even thought coming into the season, like, hey, you've got Joe Milton back there. I mean, he could beat out Drake May on top of it.
Jumping Joe Milton.
I mean, he did a backflip to score his first NFL touchdown. I mean, that was pretty sick. But yeah, I mean, there's promise. Now you just need something to really put it all together, I think.
Lucas says, with Drake having another year under his belt and another draft pick, I think they will get 6 or so wins next year. I think they very well could. Drake May, I thought looked good for what he had. I'm in agreement with him. And again, I thought the Vikings were going to trade up to draft Drake May, but the Patriots are like, nah, we like this kid. So they're going to hold on to him, and hopefully they make some moves here, because if you add some weapons with him, I think they can be pretty good offensively.
Yeah,
and I think they're going to start to build that. And I think they're going to get Vrabel. So yeah, it's got my stamp of approval. So Voldy, what do you got?
I mean, the Patriots would be dumb if they don't go after Mike Vrabel. I mean, he got inducted into the Hall of Fame, the Patriots Hall of Fame last season, as he was head coach for the Tennessee Titans during their bye week, which kind of was the straw that broke the camel's back in Tennessee. Him talking and praising the organization about, the coaching and everything, all the success that has come along. I mean, he is a head coach. If ands or buts about it, Mike Vrabel is a head coach. I do feel sorry for jerodmayo. I felt like Jerod needed a couple more seasons as a coordinator. That's the thing. Under the Belichick tree, there really isn't a whole lot when it comes to coordinator or being kind of like a head coach in training. It's a lot of like, here's what I'm doing. Whether you pay attention or not, I don't really care. I'm just going to do what is going to be best for me and best for this team. Whether you're along with it, that's great. If not, get the hell out of my way. But it felt like jerodmayo is going to find a job. That's no problem. He is definitely not a terrible coach. He's going to find a job, no problem whatsoever. But I feel on top of it, I've seen that the Patriots have done formal interviews with Pep Hamilton and also Byron Leftwich, too. Byron Leftwich, another possible head coaching hire maybe in the next couple seasons or two. But those guys have gotten some looks. But if the Patriots don't do as much as they can to get Mike Vrabel, even though he's interviewed with the Jets, maybe that was just a shot across the bow, be like, hey, you don't come get me, I'm gonna go over here maybe, or just kind of blowing smoke up the Kraft's rear end. This is I definitely feel with Drake May getting another season under his belt, seeing getting that experience this season after Jacoby Brissett kind of stunk things up a little bit. But getting him comfortable, getting maybe another weapon or two around him, I could definitely see improvement from 4 wins this coming season for them. I think 6.5 is definitely the mark to be at. I would definitely put it maybe at 6. So I'll take the under on that. But I feel like the next coach will definitely have a better record than 4-13 in 2025.
Yeah, and I think they're going to make those improvements. I just think, and I forgot to mention this, but I just think he wasn't ready for head coaching right away because he didn't have that much under his belt before that even. I didn't understand it.
It's not that Bill Belichick is a terrible mentor, but it's just like there's just no set, define, you are my defensive coordinator. It's just like you're going to be coaching here, but I'm not really a guy that's all about titles or anything, or like you're my defensive coordinator, you're my offensive coordinator, all that's just like, all right, you're going to be coaching quarterbacks and you'll call the plays or stuff like that. But it's just like sometimes guys just need, what am I? Who am I? I'm definitely that person. Tell me what I am, who I am. Help me.
Me help you.
Exactly. Nonetheless, better looking forward to 2025. Here we go.
The one thing, and I think I read this too, is that the disciplinary actions that he had against some of these players were just, it was dumb. And that's how he kind of lost that locker room, is that type of thing. He tried
too hard.
Yeah. So I think, he'll probably get a gig somewhere else, build that up, and maybe he'll get another shot. For sure. So we'll see. All right, next one, Voldy.
Well, we head to the world of Major League Baseball in a very surprising offseason move that the San Francisco Giants made an agreement on a 1-year contract, $15 million to aging right-handed starting pitcher Justin Verlander, of course, entering now his 20th Major League season, and which could be nearing the very end of his time. Of course, him making a run in recent years with the Houston Astros, and of course, his time with the New York Mets most recently, in that big contract that they threw out before getting traded back to the Astros in 2023, but dealing with some injuries as of late, but now seeing the likes of the generational talent Justin Verlander in the back end of his career, now signing with the San Francisco Giants, of course, in the same division as the defending world champion Los Angeles Dodgers. Is it absurd or proved? Will Justin Verlander provide added push for the Giants to be a contender in that NL West division?
Well, Voldy, for old time's sake, and the fact that I listened to the final show while I was at work today, while I was working, all I gotta say is this:
Oh, baby!
I was hoping and praying that maybe now that the poll ads would be like, like we're kind of out, we're looking for owners and things like that. Maybe the owner that comes in would be like, Verlander's out there. Why don't we just see what he's got, put him in the rotation and whatnot? And damn it, those Giants went and swooped in and took him. Gosh darn it. I'm just peeved about that because who knows? Kate Upton could be. I mean, this could have happened. This could have happened, but it didn't. Year 20 making $15 million, not too shabby, says Lucas. And yeah, it ain't too shabby. That's for sure. We're still working on that, by the way. We're still working on that. It's just these contract talks take longer than expected. Maybe 10 years longer than expected. Anyway, all right, let's get back to the story here. But, I could see it because the Giants are always in it, man. I mean, they add pitching where pitching where they need to, and and a guy like that with the experience, and he's still got something left, adding another arm to the rotation. I'm going to give it a slight stamp of approval because I feel like there's a lot of good teams in that NL with the Dodgers. The Padres are always in it nowadays and whatnot. So, I'll give it my stamp of approval, but I don't know if they can get above those Dodgers or like the Padres. So, Voldy, what do you think?
I mean, since they brought in Buster Posey as their president of baseball operations, the Giants have definitely made some moves to at least get things back swayed in their direction. I mean, they did sign shortstop Willie Adames to a big contract, 7 years, $182 million, but that rotation isn't lacking. I mean, you throw Verlander in with guys like Logan Webb, former Cy Young winner Robbie Ray, then you've got Kyle Harrison as well, a couple lefties in the mix, and then looks like a possibility of Hayden Birdsong being a candidate as that fifth spot in the rotation as well. But now you throw Verlander in there. I mean, that's definitely something. As the older he's gotten, the stronger he has gotten too. He's definitely been a guy that has ate up a lot of innings and has, found ways to reinvent himself, maybe season after season, or maybe, different stretches in his career. But he's still a very foreboding pitcher as his time has come along. I mean, I could definitely see them being a contender, but of course you've got the rotation. You've got a couple of players here and there. Can you piece it all together is the thing. You know what? I'm gonna throw my stamp of approval on top of it. I think they'll be a contender, but it's still the Dodgers division to lose. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah, especially just the season they've, had this past season, and then, the Giants, but they're always in the mix, so it wouldn't surprise me if they, represented the National League. So, all right, next one, Voldy.
Well, after a fantastic run at the collegiate level, and of course finishing as runner-up in the Heisman Trophy, Boise State running back Ashtonjeanty announced that he will be declaring for the 2025 NFL Draft, and that was a stamp on the career that did unfortunately include a loss in the Fiesta Bowl just a few days ago. But over his time, he has put up nothing but numbers, including in his final season, of course, just finishing shy of breaking the all-time single-season rushing record, which did include 2,600 yards on the ground, 29 touchdowns on top of it. Ashtonjeanty will be making himself available in the NFL Draft. Of course, early on in the season, dependent on, of course, with how draft order ends up after the conclusion of the NFL season, seeing a few things kind of swaying one direction or another, that Ashtonjeanty might be looking good in purple, but is it absurd or approved? Would Ashtonjeanty be a solid running back prospect for the Vikings to draft coming up here later in April?
If it'll come up for me, but I don't know if it... Yeah. Yes, it's got my stamp of approval. Listen, I love Aaron Jones. I feel like the Vikings are going to try to get him back. But listen, all respect to Cam Akers, because I feel like Cam, has done quite well as well. But when you have a guy that had a season, like just a record-breaking season with, I had it right here and I lost it, 2,601 rushing yards, 29 touchdowns. That is something to behold, that's for sure. This kid's got the it factor. He's a guy that is, gonna get his yards, and he's gonna be a game breaker for any team that gets him. Now, if he ends up going to the Vikings, and whether we have McCarthy or Darnold starting, listen, the offense is going to hum like it is going to be very dangerous with Jeanty in the backfield for those Vikings. So, yes, I am all in, stamp of approval of drafting him. There was one downside. They played Penn State. He didn't play as, I believe, right? He didn't play as well in that game against, a team that they don't normally play, and Big 10, and you got Big 20, 25, whatever you call it nowadays. But I don't think that matters. I feel like if he's in the right system, and I think KOC would utilize him a lot. I am all in on the Vikings drafting Ashtonjeanty to the Minnesota Vikings. Stamp of approval all the way, and Lucas is all in as well. Voldy, what do you got?
I mean, I definitely see it as being a strong possibility if it should end up being that way. I think Ashtonjeanty projected being a top running back prospect for the draft. I mean, but is it going to fall in the same narrative? You never draft a running back in the first round or very high in the first round. That has come back to hurt a few teams in the past. But seeing the early projections, or at least it was early on the season, it was definitely good to see that, a lot of possibilities of maybe Jeanty adding up into purple. Of course, we've seen the past success of Boise State running backs in Minnesota. Of course, we had Alexander Madison. We had Ian Johnson for a hot second back in the day, too. But, getting Boise State players in Minnesota has worked out fairly well in the past. I'd love to see it, too, but got to let's see how the chips fall in that direction, too. I would love to see it if he so happens to be there. I mean, you'd love to see Aaron Jones back for another season, but behind that, too, I mean, you've got Ty Chandler. You've got Cam Akers to see if that's going to be a possibility. But you'd love to see a young running back come into that room that has been missing on young prospects for the Vikings over the last couple of years. You know what? I'm going to give it my stamp of approval. I definitely love to see Ashtonjeanty put on a Minnesota Vikings jersey for sure.
Ian Johnson, I love it. I did get an autograph from him, by the way, when I was in training camp. It was sweet. I still got it somewhere, so I'll have to look for that. I know where it is. Tate, welcome to the show. Let's round things off with you guys, Voldy and Tate. Last one. What do we got?
Well, we head to the world of the NHLs. It was just announced earlier today that the NHL will be playing 2 outdoor games in Florida for the first time next season, that the matchups will be taking place in Tampa Bay as well as in Miami, as the matchups will be part of the NHL Winter Classic. Will feature the Florida Panthers and the New York Rangers on January 2nd at Lone Depot Park, the home of the Miami Marlins. That will be the Winter Classic, and one of the Stadium Series games will be February 1st between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Boston Bruins. That will be taking place in Tampa at the Big Sombrero and at Raymond James Stadium. Now, certainly very interesting, the location of two said games. Of course, in the past that we've seen the Winter Classic games, we've seen them in Nashville, or I should say we've seen them in far-reaching places like Seattle. We've seen them as well as far south as Dallas. They had that at the Cotton Bowl a few years ago. But now we're going to Miami in January. Don't know exactly how that's going to work out overall. Then you throw in February in Tampa Bay. Very interesting. Couple of good matchups that you have here on paper. But is it absurd or approved? Of course, with the NHL choosing these locations for outdoor games in 2026, is it absurd or approved playing outdoor hockey in Florida in January and February will not have any issues whatsoever.
Yeah, whatsoever. Yeah, that's what Tate's got. I was looking up because I didn't, I'm not 100% sure on hurricane season, but it looks like from June 1st to November 30th is hurricane season. So I think they're in the clear there. Just wanted to make sure. But Texas, I'm shocked that they were able to get that going. But Miami, I don't know how they all do it with the rink and how they keep the ice, obviously, not from melting and obviously like that. I'm sure they have like machines and stuff, how they keep it going with that. But I'm not a fan of it. I think it's going to have issues. So I think it's absurd. I think it's going to have some issues down there playing in Miami, and it depends. Like, are they going to get enough people to, hang out and watch this stuff? And I could see this going horribly wrong. So I'm gonna say absurd. So that's what I got. Voldy, what do you got?
I mean, this one really all comes down to, I remember, I think it was a couple years ago, maybe at the height of COVID or something, where they had the Stadium Series games out in Utah. I think it was at the Lake Tahoe, I think it was. Okay. And they had to move the games from during the day to night because the sun was cracking the ice and not allowing it to stay frozen properly. So they had to move it from like a 3:00 game to like a 7:00 game once the sun started to go down over the mountains at Lake Tahoe. I could very well see that happen in the game in February, but with the game in for the Winter Classic in January, I mean, it's going to be at the Marlins Stadium, which does have a retractable roof, so they've got that to go with. It comes down to, I mean, you got to get enough Ranger fans to show up for Florida. I mean, the Panthers winning the Stanley Cup last year will certainly help ticket sales in that regard, but are they going to be good enough next season going into the Winter Classic to be warranting of such high praise to hold the Winter Classic? I think the matchup between Tampa Bay and Boston is going to be awesome because those two teams hate each other. I hate Tampa Bay with a passion, so they'll certainly be quite the matchup for them in that Stadium Series game coming up next year. I think there'll definitely be a few issues, but it probably won't mask the same that we've seen in years past with I think the first Winter Classic that they had up in Buffalo, they had that snowstorm going on. The Lake Tahoe games where they were having the issues with the ice. I think it'll pale in comparison to those. I think it's absurd. I don't think they'll have major issues, but Florida, 2 games in Florida, certainly very interesting overall.
Whatever floats your boat, I guess. That's
capital. Just going with the hot hand, I guess.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Great job with ARA this week, Voldy, as always.
Thanks, sir.
We got some Shield shout-outs to get to tonight. There's a lot involving some cars, a championship, and another championship. So let's get it going with some Shield shout-outs.
Shield shout-outs.
All right, Shield, who ya shouting out tonight?
Well, I do have to send out some big Shield shout-outs, of course, to Brian Lomble, Jimbo, Janebo as well, and R&L Repair for helping us out with my car troubles here this weekend, giving me some much-needed rides here and there when drastically needed at points, get me from point A to point B to help out with the kids, and just get me to work and back on top of it. So big Shield shout-outs to those guys for helping me all out. And, I got my car back here this afternoon. Amazing how much you are ineffective without a properly working vehicle. So big Shield shout-out to those guys for helping us out there. But do have to send a Shield shout-out to Minnesota native Tiffanystratton on cashing in her Money in the Bank briefcase and winning her first WWE Women's Championship and further cementing that it is tiffytime with her winning her first title. Of course, the properly Minnesota native winning that title is awesome to see for her in her rise on the main roster. And finally here tonight, do have to say a Shield shout out to the NDSU football team capturing their 10th FCS National Championship in the last 14 seasons with their win over Montana State on Monday, and thus giving another reminder for season ticket holders like Jimbo, more reason to renew for the upcoming season. I had the chance to go to a couple games this year. Looking forward to going to maybe another couple here next season and seeing another banner up at the Fargo Dome. So shout out to the NDSU football team once again on winning another championship.
Love it. Love it.
Oh, and I'm going to do it for Shield shout-outs.
You were busy. You were busy.
Yep.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good.
Oh, good.
First of all, with NDSU, horns up, right? Horns up. Mm-hmm. Not horns down. We're not talking about. We're not talking about the Longhorns here, but Tiffy time. What a rain it's going to be. It's going to be an awesome rain. Mm-hmm. We're realizing the fact that she's got a title before, like, any of our top 4 major sports teams. Congratulations to Tiffanystratton, though. I mean, that is fantastic. Getting that, I mean, so well-deserved. Money in the Bank. She's a champ now. The reign of Tiffy time is going to be amazing. So can't wait for that. And, and again, I'm glad your car's working now, Voldy. Now you don't have to worry about it. You're good. You're in good shape. So, all right. Great job with Shield shoutouts, as always, Voldy and Tate.
Yes,
usually I say we got Pick'em, but no, we do not. Congratulations to the winners of Pick'em. They will be choosing their signed helmets, which feature either Drake London, Breece Hall, and Terrell Davis. So we got the top 3 there, and then Mikey Lawrence winning it all he will get the MinneZona bundle. Congratulations to him and whatnot. Our 5-year anniversary is not next week, but the week after. So keep in tune on the socials medias. We got some fun things coming your way with that. Our 5-year anniversary is crazy. I can't believe it. And Tate's been here for all of it. Case has been here for all of it. It's pretty sweet. It's cool to see. So we got that going for us. And guys, we got merch. We got the sweatpants. We got the shirts. We got the stickers. We got the hats. We got the tumblers. Gave some away this past week to Double Trouble. And the winter hats. By the way, winter hats are a big hit, by the way.
Huge.
Caitlin's been wearing it. And Kristen definitely got hers. I was snapping her as we were just before the show, so she did get hers, so I'm glad that she did. We got those winter caps. We got the sweat. There's still some sweatpants left, the limited sizes, obviously, but we can make an exception as well. So thank you to National Fleet Graphics, Crown Rental, Tyler Knutson for the stickers. And we got stickers as well. Make sure you check that out. Take a look at W2 Performance. Our guy, Will Rattel, www.w2performance.com, doing some awesome things with that as well. Make sure you check him out. And then you need to check out our guys, the Brotherly Ballers podcast with Tyler Herman and Jack Vickers. The fantasy football season is over, but you might be doing some playoff stuff. So make sure you check our guys out with that as well. They know their stuff. And obviously Tyler winning the MinneZona League is saying a lot. They're quite good at what they do.
Collusion.
There you go. TLS Performance, our guy Troy Stoudemire Jr. doing some big things with his stuff as well. And then the Popcorn Bucket List, Nick Dahlhoff, Ryan Myberg, the Rhino, baby, the Rhino, Omni Entertainment. With all the upcoming movies, all the movies, reviews, things like that, they'll let you know they got it set for you. So, with that being said, that's going to do it for episode 222. Skol Vikes will be watching on Monday. We both got the Vikings winning, hopefully we're talking about a victory and on to the next round as well. So fingers crossed. And congratulations to the Gophers as well, winning the Duke Mayo Bowl. PJ got drenched and
by
Mayo.
Flavor Flav.
And Flavor Flav, that's right. Flavor Flav.
Awesome.
I would never do that. That is absolutely disgusting, by the way.
Yeah.
That just
smell's
saying.
not coming out for a couple weeks.
No, it ain't. Disgusting. Anyway, congratulations to the Gophs. We'll see what happens upcoming year with recruiting, things like that. Seems like PJ's staying around, so we'll see. Okay. But without further ado, folks, as always, remember, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.